I've been saying it, and I'm gonna say it again. Why hasn't this series been used as a biology class lesson? Like, cells at work really should be incorporated. It's somehow in a lesson, or at very least for a fun day for biology class, because you could see that there's a lot of research that has been put into this series. And let me explain why. The basophiles that we got in this episode, the Edgelord that's voiced by Sugita, I think that's his name. Basically, in real life, we don't really know much about them. There's a lot of mystery about those cells, and just seeing how in this episode they played like this Edgelord and all that, that was just, they had a really great design, they seemed to be doing something, but we didn't really know what they were doing throughout the episode, what he was doing throughout the episode. Correction, it's similar to how real life is, because we don't know everything they do. We know that they have something to do with, the white blood cell, the pink-haired girl in this episode. We know that they get helped out, but at the same time, we don't really know exactly all of their functions. So you can see that a lot of research was put into cells at work when the writer was, writing this series. And I respect something like that, because, once again, this reestablishes what I've been saying. Cells at Work is a type of series that does exaggerate some things. Some things are not completely one-by-one accurate, like, how we saw the platelets, putting all the red blood cells together to make a clot. But at the same time, the point is that it's accurate enough to be able to teach some in a fun way. And so I really do think that this should be an educational show. But I do think that this could not possibly be shown to children. And the reason why I say that is because of this. Stuff like this is why I don't think this could be shown to children. I mean, when you see the dude literally break out of, like, bacteria like a germ, and you see how he's just covered in blood, I'm like, okay, like, one moment this series looks like really child-friendly, and then all of a sudden you have a scene like this, and you're like, okay, I see you, Cells at Work. So, I mean, I don't really know what, what demographic this series is really trying to go for, but it's such a fun series. But okay, let's get into what this episode was about. So if I had to judge on what was happening here, like in this episode, why a parasite came into the stomach, and why, there's bacteria and all that, like food poisoning happening, I'm assuming the actual adult, the human in real life, that was, eating this type of stuff that happened, most likely he was at some form of seafood restaurant or whatever, because apparently the person had seawater. It was like some form of seawater that came in, which also came with the bacteria. Then on top of that, the parasite from raw fish, which most likely is sushi, because we know how Japan loves their sushi. So, most likely, they were at some form of seaside restaurant that, is at the coast of Japan. And that's what I'm assuming because of the way the bacteria and all that started coming in. I do have to say, I love how this episode incorporated eosinophils, or eosinophil-chan in this episode, and how she seemed very weak, like she wasn't being able to do much at all like a regular white blood cell would, but then all of a sudden, when the parasite came in and all that, it was trying to break in, she was able to deal with it. And I just like how the plot of this episode was built up to that very moment. And I mean, if you have a good understanding of biology and how certain cells work, then this is probably going to be a really good treat for you as a watcher, just because of how accurate it was in terms of just how cells react. Like, I mean, it's just a really enjoyable moment. I just love all the little scenes with the cells and how they're built up to how they work together to take out problems that happen within the human body. Now, can we also take a moment to mention that the first date between red blood cell Chan and white blood cell, how they had a date in this episode at the beginning, and their date was literally looking at the digestive system of the human body. I guess you could kind of relate this with an aquarium, I'm assuming. And if I want to go one step further, I'm assuming that maybe instead of it just being, the main adult, the body of, the adult and all that, maybe they weren't at, like, the sea, maybe they were in some form of aquarium or whatever, and then they started eating sushi that was nearby. That's what I'm assuming, if we're going along with what the red blood cell and white blood cell were doing in this episode, because they were obviously having, like, the equivalent of an aquarium date. But, yeah, I'll drop that there. But it's funny how they legit, their first date is kind of like watching the stomach. And it's like, Okay, only this series, only cells at work. Now, I do like how the digestive system, or the stomach, was depicted in this episode. It was kind of like a molten cavern, and you see, like, this cave and all that. It was really cool, especially with how, when the parasite came in, how it started burrowing inside of the stomach wall, and tried to go through, and it was causing a lot of damage, and then the rumbling as well. It just, like, there was a little bit of accuracies to how the stomach is. I mean, I know for a fact, everybody out there, most likely, has experienced some form of stomach issue. Either you ate some bad food, you've gotten food poisoning, parasite, whatever, okay? Everybody's probably experienced some form of stomach issue in their life. I know I have many times. I remember having food poisoning when I was younger, and oh, that was one of the worst times in my life. I remember I couldn't even keep down water. It was horrible. It was like a 24-hour bug I had for a full 24 hours of nothing, being able to drink or eat anything. But, basically, I like how accurate it was of how the stomach, you know, when it starts going down or if something bad happens, it could cause a lot of issues within the body. And you see how when the parasite got in, it started burrowing in through the stomach and all that, and everybody's freaking out like, what can we do about this? We can't really do much about this because, I mean, when you think about white blood cells and stuff, they're not equipped to deal with actual, you know, creatures or parasites. They're used to, like, you know, germs and stuff that are on a smaller scale. So obviously they couldn't do anything like that. It was like a giant titan that they couldn't deal with whatsoever. So seeing Eosinophil come in like she did, it definitely made the scene, or that part of the episode, just freaking enjoyable and epic, by the way. I mean, she was a pretty freaking cool character. Also, I do want to point out that the white blood cell, our main male character, he has a harem. A microscopic harem going on. Like, I mean, this man's got platelets, he's got red blood cell, and then now he's got, you know, eosinophil. I mean, when you think about the situation, he has a harem. And I guess when you think about the situation of eosinophil that was introduced in this episode, I'm assuming that she's the equivalent of his sister, because they were in the same bone marrow. They came from the same bone marrow, so technically, I guess you could say that they're siblings, or childhood friend, one of those two. But when you think about how the human body works, and how all the cells kind of come from one body, I guess technically they're all brothers and sisters, but let's look past that for now. But yeah, cells at work, this episode, a lot of good stuff in here. A lot of good stuff for people that understand biology, understand how cells work in some ways. It's definitely a lot of love that was put into this series. The writer definitely put a lot of passion into it, looking up different things. And I mean, just like, holy crap, this series continues to amaze me. I can't wait till we get into a little bit more of the darker stuff, honestly. Because, I mean, even though we were dealing with food poisoning, the flu, and all of that, I can't wait to find out more stuff. Like, you know, how, like, I guess scarlet fever would be handled, or, you know, something like, I guess, a dangerous disease that comes in. I would just love to see something like that handled, or, you know, talked about in Cells at Work. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but it would definitely be a missed opportunity if something like that didn't happen in this, you know, series. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, you know, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.